Hey, welcome back, everyone. Let's give everyone a few minutes to join in. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Looks like we got Dale online already. Hello from Las Vegas. Hello, Dale. JK seems to be typing something out. We've got a great show lined up for you today. James is running a little late, but hey, John Brolin, when are you going to join us online? Soon, I'm hoping. So, anyways, so James is running a little late, and he went to a show this weekend, and he was a judge at that show. And I'm interested to know um, what he was looking for when he was doing the judging. So he's going to comment on that, and I would like to talk later on about our resin 3D printed stuff. And that seems to be the new stuff coming out, and a lot of people are doing it. And I want to know what you guys think. What category does it belong in? It's really not fair to the builder of a 3D model, a 3D printed model, to end up in the general category of box stock or whatever, or competition with all the wiring and stuff. You're starting off with like 12 pieces, maybe 13 pieces with a 3D printed thing. Plus, you have all of the prep work that goes into the 3D printed stuff. It just doesn't seem fair. But anyways, we're going to talk a little bit about that. John Brolin says, "Hi, James." And I asked when he's going to come on. He says, John is quite the builder. I've seen pictures of his Ferrari that he just finished, a 360 Spider, and yeah, sorry, I was reading. Yeah, John's quite a builder. He's going to give me some run for my money this circuit contest, the contest circuit this year. Northwind says hello all. William Wagman says hello. I have posted something in a live chat and nobody replies. Does that mean I'm blocked? Nope. Nope. I judge the automotive class along with James. He's much better at articulating his thoughts than I would be. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I've been going to contests for 10, 15 years. And, I really, unlike James, I prefer the non-competitive events just so that I can hang out and talk to people and not be so savage about, oh, I'm going to beat that guy, or that guy's, better than I am, or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I I just build. I just build. There he is.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. My son, we have a laptop computer. This is the dumbest thing in the world. We have this laptop computer, Asus gaming computer, bought for my wife so she could play World of Warcraft. If you close that computer, it kills our Wi-Fi. So if you just turn it off, to put it to sleep, there goes our Wi-Fi. It turns the entire router. It turns the router off. Like it turned, like it's not just like a hiccup. It like the router resets itself. So as I was loading in here, no internet. Oh
man.
So
hi, Frizzo.
I was in the process of pulling the pictures I sent you.
Okay.
So as
John
we talk
Brolin's
about
on.
No, Mr. Brolin, yes, he was my right-hand man on Saturday. If you ask him, I'm sure he'll complain that he hates me. It said all day long, "I hate you. I hate you. I hate you." It's like, no, it's like, because we all obviously all know the same people from the shows because we're all, we both go to the same shows out here. And he's like, James talked me into judging. I said, no, last year I told you to judge. You were we were recruited because we were one person short. And then the day prior to the show, you texted me and said, I'm going to be there and I'll help you judge. So that you volunteered for. So I don't want to hear it. If you hate me, it is a hate of your own making. I didn't have anything to do with that. So how's it been going? You and I haven't had a chance to talk in the last couple of days because I've been busy with.
I know, because you've been busy
with said judging and said contests. So what's going on in the world of Mr. Tester?
I'm working hard on this Alpha Models Audi RS7. Body's in clear now. Yeah, I'm just cranking it out.
We didn't white glue review that though.
No, we did not. Well, there's only 25 pieces. I mean, how bad could it fit?
That's right. It's like a giant Lego.
It is. It is.
25 pieces, and all 25 of them are parts of the door panel.
Seriously. 23 of them are photo etched.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the dash. The dash, there's little bitty inserts that go into the air conditioning vents.
I think it's going to be, because we both have the same kit, so I've seen the insides of this thing. The big things to me are going to be trying to get the PE surrounds around those resin inserts, like that piece of the dashboard on the passenger side airbag is a piece of itself, and then there's a PE surround going around that piece, trying to get that all in there and have it line up and have it,
right there. He's talking about this thing. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. There's a photo etch piece that goes around this piece of the dash. Yeah, unlike the wheels are going to be great time too. so here's the wheel, and that has 5 photo etch pieces on it before paint, and then there's a trim piece that glues onto here. So try not to get any glue anywhere except for where the photo etch piece goes. Good times.
And then you have to bend that star into
just right.
Just right.
Yeah.
And a fun time was had by. But you know what? If it goes well, it'll look great because it'll be a metal piece, and it's one of those really near to impossible things to get a good brushed aluminum look, and that'll have it because of the nature of the PE itself.
Right. But yeah, I'm having a good time with it. Looking forward to the next one too. So, and the next one after that, and the next one after that. So
yeah, exactly. I finally guilt tripped you back into being more involved with those guys. So you'll hate me too before this is all over. James,
Kevin Smith's with us today.
Hated man in hobby.
Excuse me. Dale, let me be the second person to welcome you to Ohio. Yes. Dale, when are you coming? To make a correct 69 Nova, you have to use 2 kits. Is it still box stock? No. Nope.
I think it would
in one box.
I think that would depend on the pieces, because if we're talking about that hinky thing that Revell did with the Yenko, where the Yenko had none of the Yenko parts in it, but then they released that fake COPO Nova. I just call it a Copo Nova. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce that or not. But they released that Copo Nova, and that had the flat hood and the right seats and the dog dash hubcaps and all that. The only thing you had to do to actually make those 2 kits like this was exchange the decal sheets, because all the Yenko decals are in the Yenko sheet, and then if you take if you look at the Copo sheet, it has not only the 429 badges or 427 badges that are on there. Yeah, it also has 396 badges. So you could, by taking that and put it in the Yenko kit, which has all of the correct SS parts in it, make an SS 396, which is something they only made like 2,000 of or something like that in 1969. It's a rare of the things you can make, because obviously Yenko's an aftermarket car. Of the stock cars you can make from the factory, it's like one of the rarest cars you can make. I was like, oh, I guess that fixes the problem that the Yenko was a half-ass joke, out of the box. You kind of fix it by swapping the decal sheets around, but I think that would be out of the box because,
Yeah, I changed my answer then, Dale. Yes, it's box stock if you just use decals, because decals don't matter.
Yeah, so most contests will allow you to swap out decals.
Otherwise, you'd be stuck everybody having the same kit, basically.
I'd say, and then you get into that weird out of box stuff what they do, where you can use stuff from other kits, and it's like, okay, we're splitting hairs now, and it gets weird.
So I kind of gave the warm up for it, James. So as you were judging the automotive categories with Mr. Brolin, what were the top things that you were looking for as a judge?
Seem to be on like such narrow. There we go. So we're in such narrow profiles there. I can't lean back in my chair. I'm going to go off the screen. The IPMS algorithm, if you will, for how anything is judged really, but cars are sort of a three-pronged approach where construction is the first phase. So you're looking for as few flaws as possible in a construction phase. So that's obviously, alignment issues, a lot more with planes and stuff like that have actual alignment. But, we did see cars that were not necessarily tripoding, but had, positive camber on one wheel, negative camber on another one, where your wheels just weren't lined up. And that's a tough thing because that's something you have to, as a builder entering a contest, you have to give that one last look, if you will, at what you're putting on the table. Make sure that your wheels are aligned, because they can go all cattywampus in the box, or when you put it down on the table and then slide the sheet over, and all of a sudden one of the wheels that was perfectly straight is, doing hey, lean out to the left there. We had a couple of things that seemed like that, and then obviously glue on the windshield, glue in general, right? Because, some people will, unfortunately, you'll glue your painted parts together and you will get glue come out your seams, and painting over that without fixing it first, in the sense of sanding it off and then having to spot repair that rather than just painting over top of it. And you can clearly see there is or not even so much with a brush, a can, an airbrush, whatever, but no matter how thin a coat of paint is, you're going to paint over that blob of glue that is, risen up out of your seams or whatever. Right. And then your second prong of that is then finish. And, on the military stuff, it's a lot more of a realism than it is in cars. Cars are given a great deal of leeway within the idea that obviously people were building customs, and we had a number of weathered vehicles there, a number of rat rods and things like that. So how do you judge on realism? What's a realistic rat rod look like? Everybody has a picture in their mind of what a rat rod is, but is that realistic? Because that's a homemade car, for lack of a better way to look at it. And so any of them could be any way you want it to. So that's is the, weathering realistic within the again, my thing is your fiberglass Corvette rusty and things of that nature. And so that's a lot of paint. That's a lot of, paint, and again, final fit and finish. Our club specifically does not pick up your model, so nothing is seen on the bottom unless you place it on a mirror or on a stand. So we're not checking, we're not looking at the chassis necessarily. So it's a curbside presentation basically. And so, a lot of stuff that comes in there is, flaws in your paint, flaws in your clear coat, because sometimes you could tell the flaws in the paint and it's been clear coated over, and you could tell the flaws in the clear coat depending on how buried that flaw is. Your decal work, is it silvering? Is it line? Are the decals chipped, cracked? All those sorts of things you get into. Straight, yeah, exactly. Are your finishes realistic? A number of people, and it's a pet peeve for me, and maybe it's a subjective thing that I bring into judging, but it is a situation where a lot of people get into a 50s, 60s car that'll have a lot of chrome trim, and they'll chrome that whole scuttle panel where your windshield wipers are, and now your windshield wipers are basically one piece unit with the scuttle panel, and there's no black for your wiper blade. I understand
Okay.
those things were stainless steel at the time, not necessarily chrome, but they had a wiper blade, and not having that edge to it or any kind of tonal difference
Yeah.
between the chrome. You could tell. I took a piece of bare metal foil and I bare metal foiled this whole bottom piece of chrome, wipers included, and off we went. And that's another thing. Bare metal foil, how well is it done? Is it, it's not so much how does it look
Trimmed
like chrome,
neatly.
but trimmed neatly. We had a really, really nice 25 or not 25, I guess it was 25 Model T sedan delivery. The thing that round two boxes out and a whole bunch of things. It was like a Nestle packaging and I think it was in a Coke packaging and stuff like that. And somebody took the time to bare metal foil all of that itty bitty trim around the panel band and over the fenders and all that, except that it wasn't cut neatly and it was very sloppy. And that's I can't. I'm not going to judge you harshly for the sloppiness, but at the same time, it's like you shouldn't have done it if it's going to look like that. It would look better not. And then you get into the third prong of it, which is sort of a finishing and more to a 1, 2, 3 contest than what we do, which is the open judging, where it's a gold, silver, bronze, and again, you're judged against the rule book rather than other cars in the contest, and that's scope of effort. And that would be, again, if you had two cars and they were identical in terms of fit and finish and quality and all the other things, you would take that last thing of, okay, is the car detailed? Have they done, is it scratch building? Is there addition? Because I know you want to talk about 3D printing and how that works in the contest, but is there 3D printing? And if it is, does it, is the 3D printing cleaned up? Does the 3D printing look like kit parts? Can you tell without reading that description where your plastic ends and where your additional things go? How was your photo etch done? If you did photo etch, if you wired the engine, how well is that done? I know I dinged somebody last year who fixed it when they came back this year, made a big point out to drag me over and point it out. They took their battery terminals and they just sort of wired the battery into the sides of the battery instead of the actual terminals on the top. And I said, when I'm looking at scope of effort in this car, I can't give you points for that detail because it's, your car battery just doesn't have plugs in the side of it. They go into the terminals on the top. I understand if you don't want to do PE battery terminals, but at least plumb them to where they should go rather than just, there's wires. Because, okay,
right.
There's wires, but that's, why, again, you're doing something that would look better if you hadn't done it in the first place. And
I think that's one of the things that I like about box stock is nobody's going to judge me that there isn't, a battery cable running to the correct location, and it's just it looks like a model car. That's all it looks like.
right, we had a couple of things where they look really, really good, but when you sat there and you sort of pull back to the 30,000 foot thing, you looked at it and you're like, it looks good, but it looks like a toy. It looks like a
Okay.
die-cast toy. Die-cast toys, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's also, that scope of effort also goes into the realism aspect of it. And I know John will know this because we both talked to him about it on the one Acura that he built. And it's a thing that I look for all the time too. Are your decals cut on your door panels and on your hoods and your trunks, right? Is your door
The
sealed?
bridge.
Is your door sealed with a decal, right? If you have a trim like a Fairlane or something like that where the trim is running down the bottom of the car, that's one thing. But if you have a race car or any kind of car where you have hood stripes, trunk that go over to the whole car, but Shelby stripes, for example, that go over the whole width of the car, when you get past the hood and the trunk, are those cut so the trunk and hood can open? If you have a race car, are your placards or your sponsors that cover your doors cut or not? Because I can't get out of the car. It's not a NASCAR. NASCAR,
Right.
there are no doors. Everything else, I got to be able to open that door in case of an emergency. I know it's a nitpicky thing, but when you're talking about, again, I'll leave that for a second, but and we had a couple of things where just people would make these weird efforts of everything would look really, really, really good, and then you get to this one thing where it's like, did no one else see this before you entered it? Because we had one gentleman who painted a number of race cars, Now, all of them were painted the wrong color as far as the actual one-to-one color goes. I'm not going to ding you for that necessarily because I have to judge what's presented and subjectively, not everybody there knows that Volvo station wagon should be white. It's not supposed to be silver. So I'm judging you based on how well you painted it silver. I know it should be white, but that's not a thing. But if you're going to paint it a different color, then that paint job has to be like spot on, as far as I'm concerned, because and the guy painted several cars metallic white, white pearl. And every single one of those cars, John is my witness, right, will say that there was some weird dirt in the roof of every single one of those pearl white cars. You can't paint something white and have dirt in the finish because it's going to just be like, it's going to glow in the dark the same way not sanding mold lines off something that you paint silver, because then that line just pops because it's in metallic.
Right.
The whole rest of the car, very nice. 2K is very nice, but underneath the 2K it looks like butter got on it or snot or something. I don't want to be too graphically disgusting about it, but it was these brown or orange or something. If something was in the paint,
leftovers in the airbrush. That's all it was.
Say something along those lines, and that really just I can't give you what you need for that because that's a flaw that you should have seen at some point in time. And I know that's the thing we all get so into our projects that you start overlooking things that are glaringly obvious to a fresh set of eyes, which is sort of the benefit of posting things online at times, because somebody will be like, hey, looks really great, but what is that going on right there? So to explain the system, gold, silver, bronze, or open judging is a system really designed more by AMPS, which is the Automotive or the Armor Modeling Preservation Society. It is what's known as open judging. So if you go to the IPMS website, there's a whole big rule book based on the nationals, and it'll say, this is what a car should look like, this is what an airplane should look like, this is what a boat should look like. And it goes through basic construction, finishing techniques, and a little bit of basically what the judges would be looking for within those things. Most traditional contests that you guys are familiar with are first, second, third contests, where it's what it sounds like. And we're not the first club that came up with this, but the way that the club describes it is there's a lot of times when you get into a model car contest or any kind of contest, IPMS does 1, 2, 3, so a lot, obviously, is you end up judging the best of the worst. Because you get those categories that only have 4 things in them, and really none of them are great, but somebody has to get first, somebody has to get second, and somebody has to get third. And so, or you get the category with literally 3 entries in it, and they're all kind of crap. Like, okay, so which one of these bad things is the least worst of the thing? And of course, when you're talking about the other side of that spectrum, where you're talking about good models, there are a lot of times where there are 3 first places. Really, you get into picking the smallest nits about what isn't exactly right about that thing, that within the gold, silver, bronze status, both those cars are going to get golds. You both are going to get, I mean, sometimes it's the same builder, but it's 2 different builders are going to get rewarded for their, not necessarily accomplishment, but for what they've done. They're going to get rewarded for that build. It is excellent. It deserves a first place. But you don't get that in a 1, 2, 3 because only one person's getting a first, and so you have 1, 2, 3. They're all first place. Everybody after that's what, 6th. Like, where does that? So we try to, sometimes more successfully than others, about 10% of the models in a given category, and with what we do, it's just cars, planes, boats, tanks, sci-fi, and whatnot. We don't split it out into the 82 individual categories underneath every subcategory. It's just cars.
Right.
All the cars, one place. It mixes and mingles. It's fun to judge that way because it's like, it's factory stock, custom race car, steampunk thing. It's like, well, okay, this is, if you went to 1, 2, 3 contest and were assigned judging factory stock, you're gonna see 10 factory stock cars, and that's it. There's no other variation to it. We put together two teams of 3 people, and basically just picked a side of the table and went down each side. And so you want about 10% of in a given year, it fluctuates. 10% of what's there is going to get a gold. It's outstanding. It would deserve a first place at a contest if it was, in a regular contest. Your Silvers are going to be another, say, 15% below that. Those are going to be the things with, not no model's perfect, so nothing's going to be flawless. There are things that are close, but nothing's going to be flawless. So there's going to be things with bigger flaws. And it gets into the thing of like, we're not going to count every single bad decal as a separate, thing that marks off. It's just your decals were lacking.
Right.
You may have a number of paint flaws. Well, you have paint flaw on the car. We're not going to go into like, you don't deserve this because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, but this one has, nah. So you're fitting, 15% below that. Is it second place? Kind of, sort of, but at the same time, not. Bronze is sort of I don't want to call it a participation award because they're so totally not participation awards, but
No.
it is an encouragement, right? You've done
Right.
basic things correctly. You need to work on this. You need to work on that. I hung around the table the whole time. If you wanted to come and talk to me, everybody knew who I was because I'm the car guy in the club, right? So point me out. That guy over there, he's the one you need to yell at. I'll tell you straight to your face why you got what you got or didn't get it. That was a question we had. A couple of people came up to me as we're putting out medals. I had a guy with the bags of medals because we give out these little, I don't have any sitting here, but they're about this big. They look like challenge coins. And, I'd be like, okay, gold, silver, this one gets a bronze, this one gets a silver, and then it's like skip, this one gets a gold. And it's like, people were like, well, wait, you skipped those. Yeah, they didn't get anything. Well, I didn't get anything. Yeah, I'm not here to pass out medals to 98 models. Some people,
Right.
unfortunately, will go home without anything. And I mean, I understand that really sucks when a lot of people are getting medals thing. But if it was a 1, 2, 3 contest, you hadn't got anything anyway. So,
Right.
sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I understand how that, because I've gotten nothing at a gold, silver, bronze before. It's like, oh man, didn't even get a bronze for that. But go find the judge, ask why they judge that way. And having a 3-person team the way we do, it is a vote. Everybody gets a vote. It is not a singular vote. Every single person in the 3-person team gets a vote. It is a discussion between the three as to what it is, but it's not a consensus. So everybody can vote the way they feel, and then your low score is thrown out and you average out. So a gold, silver, bronze is going to average out to a silver. 2 golds and a silver is a gold. That sort of thing. The only time where I come in really, or the head judge comes in, is if you have gold and 2 nothings. Like, what happened there? Why do you think this is first place and you two think this isn't deserving of anything at all? So
Okay.
it's the format. It's the format I like. I think it rewards builders for the effort they put in. That was the word I was looking for before. The effort they put into what they're presenting. I'm not the modeling as art guy necessarily, because what we do for the most part isn't really art. It's a scale replica more than it is a piece of art. But
Okay.
I think it rewards, you're not, it also, the other thing is it eliminates category shopping, right? You're trying to build cars of different types so that you can go into different categories. You can't sweep a category. So I've got to build 1 factory stock, 1 race car, 1 custom, 1 pickup. And then this thing this year goes in miscellaneous because I got nothing else. I can't put it anywhere else because I don't want to compete against myself. Eliminates that. Bring as much crap as you want to. It all gets judged against the rule book. And we had a couple of people go home where 3 of their models didn't get anything. We had one guy go home. Well, John as well, but one guy go home with nothing but first place, nothing but golds. His work was outstanding. He got rewarded for having 4 outstanding models on that table, rather than probably in reality, if that had been split up the way you would split up in a contest, he might have got 1 first, maybe 2 firsts, depending, because those things overlapped each other as far as where the categories would have been placed in a regular contest. So,
okay.
I think it works out for people. We had a lot of people come up to us and say that it was the first time they've been to the show and they really like that judging format. And we have several people come up to us and say that the reason they come to the show is because of that judging format. So I went home happy. Some other people probably didn't, but that's as long as I go happy.
I don't know. I don't know how I would compete in that, because I don't know. I don't like to compete.
It's not a competition. You're not competing against anybody except yourself and a rule book.
Right. Yeah, I suppose if I put my mind to it and said I'm going to build for that competition, and there was in this model at all no visible flaws, then yeah, I could probably do it. I could probably build a gold car. But do you want to build that, you know?
Well, it didn't at Cleveland 2 years ago, because again, you cheaped out. Us went to Japan last year. 2 years ago, didn't the GSR car get first place in competition at that show?
It did.
And then the Senna got first place, and it got best paint. So you've built gold standard cars before. It's not a question of whether or not you can or can't. So,
Right.
but again, like I know like the stuff you've built recently, you have two good small cars. Well, you can enter them both, because you're not going to be competing against yourself in competition that way. You've got your crazy Itasca or Ichika girl, MRS, and this RS7. Well, now the MRS is one of those things of like, okay, well, both those cars be factory stock, because there's nothing custom about that MRS other than the wrap around
The
it.
decals, right.
Right. So are we trying to shove that MRS into custom because it's got the wrap on it, or is it factory stock? Well, again, now you're competing against yourself, because both of them are new enough. They'd be in the 72.5 or replica stock. So again, you're not competing against yourself there. Bring all four. Get the
Right.
I haven't guys. I haven't seen any four of these in person yet, but I'm assuming they'd all place somewhere. They'd all metal somehow.
Yeah. The little Toyota's not going to get finished because I'm doing the Alphas. Mr. Winben. He's on.
Yes, there he is.
So he shared the instructions with me. I wish I could share them with you all, but for the new upcoming Z4 kit that he's working on, and it's amazing.
I'm laughing here at Frank's Model Works saying gold, silver, bronze, and then my work gets a crushed tin can that originally had baked beans in it. Sir, I started watching the third part of that Mustang video. I really do appreciate the dark sense of humor, or dry sense of humor that you have. New channel on YouTube there. He's been on Instagram for a while, and somebody told him to make a YouTube channel. And as he said in the very first video, make a YouTube channel, they said. It'll be fun, they said. So he's learning how to videotape and edit and all the rest of that good stuff. So I believe he's in New York or Jersey, New York, I think. And very, very amusing within his first several 20, 25 minute long videos. You know me, I like it. I watch the stuff while I drive to work, guys.
While
I drive my vehicle, but on the way to work, I'll listen to him, and I appreciate his sense of humor about stuff. I also agree with his wear a respirator while you're spraying 2K because you're going to kill yourself rant that he went on recently.
Yeah, that's.
But let me show you guys. We got a few things. Now, this is obviously not everything. I'm not going to show you 98 pictures of cars because that would be intensely annoying. But let me pull up a few things that I sent to our illustrious co-host here, if I can find where they went. There they are. And now, if I can actually share them on the screen, that would be awesome.
Share with me,
there.
James.
There we go. So this vehicle here is a 68 Coronet convertible.
Mm-hmm.
I took a picture of this specifically because we know how much Mr. Some Mopar expert over here is. He's wearing his Dodge shirt right now. This vehicle had what was touted as a 3D printed convertible top for a 68 GTX. And from what I understand, the scuttlebutt of what was being talked about, this is entirely the wrong roof for this convertible. I don't know, so I didn't judge it for that. Because it's a roof on a convertible, and it looks like a convertible roof to me. So that was certainly not something I went off on a tangent about. But it's a pretty well done vehicle. My picture's blurry up here. It's a potato phone, but he did do the thing where his whole bottom trim here is foiled in.
Yeah, he could have used a wash in there, maybe.
Yeah, something to bring it out. I'm not here to pick on this person or their car. Just that's what I was talking about. When I said
it
that
looks very presentable.
One piece. He got I believe you got a silver for this. Let's see here. This top is a 3D scale part piece made for AMT 69 GTX kit. So yeah, look good on the table. I like his Fireball Model Works wheels there, so it's good to see something other than the kit wheels being included in something. And then he had this one here, which if you cannot read, that says this is not the MPC reissue. I've seen that. I think
corrected an original. Wow.
No. He took a let's see here, random resin body reworked with front fender wheel openings, and then a section with 69 Dart, modified resin duster chassis, multiple different decal sheets, and then goes into the fact that he has like a uh, AMT duster engine, so he's gone ahead and he's swapped out the parts from the
Okay. Yeah,
71
that's the
duster
way to do
there.
that. Yep.
And then the wheels again are Fireball Model Works. I really like these wheels. I've seen these on a couple
Oh,
of things
those are
now. They're
nice.
it's very, very nice rally wheels. And then yeah, so this is not only not built out of that, but like it's got a bench seat. What is it? Bench 65 bench seat is a 65 Dodge resin piece from Hart's Resin that is smooth and cut his own patterns. Headrest from the AMT
Nice.
GTX. Houndstooth upholstery, decal from Scale Motorsports. So this is really well done. It got a gold.
Yeah. Yeah, it
This is
deserves a gold.
because yeah, scope of effort here. All right, this is not just the MPC kit with a nice yellow paint job on it. It is it's about as close to flawless as you're going to get out of a paint job. It's again potato phone not working for you on the back end here, but yeah,
And
very very
I'll
well.
comment that it has a sizzler option on the hood, which
Yep,
does mean a 318 two-barrel car. So
and he's
that's correct.
got the 2 barrel there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So it was very
Good
well
work.
done, very nice. And then this vehicle here is a 32 Ford. All three of these are from the same builder. Um,
Hmm.
he ended up getting best engine. Was voted on by another member of the club who sponsors that award. The engine is actually a 3D print, and then the
Oh,
wheels are
wow.
3D print. The wheels are 3D print. The tires are 3D print. This is a. I don't think I have it on here or enough that I can read it because it is a Cal Automotive Creations replica. So this is a replica of a 1-to-1 car. And I
Okay.
think it is a Drag City Resins body that he's using here that he modified, opened the trunk on. Iceman Collection engine, I believe, is what the engine is. And
Okay.
then, yeah, so, I mean, again, very nice. Paint's near to flawless. The thing that sort of got him on this is this trim piece on the windshield here is reversed. It should be inside rather than outside, like they're or facing the other direction.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's keyed to fit the other way. Now maybe that matches the 1-to-1. I don't know. I don't know the 1-to-1. I just know the kit part should be the other direction.
Okay.
Um, we had this FXXK, which I really like. This is a gorgeous paint job. I think this is Abu Dhabi blue, and he added the hobby design detail upset to it, so it's got a wired engine
Ooh,
because that comes with
nice.
it. You've got all the PE pieces. He's put carbon fiber on the roof. Um, I think these are Studio 27 decals. And yeah, so just a really, really excellently done kit that you don't see a lot built of. You know, a lot of people
There's a
have
reason. There's a reason for that.
lots of people have FXXKs, but not a lot of people have built their FXXKs. Uh, this was the best automotive. This is the
Oh,
71 old 442 kit, um, which came out last fall. This is again about as flawless of a model car as you're going to see. It's not going to show up well in these pictures. I should have taken my good camera, but the engine is completely detailed, wired, plumbed. The entire chassis has the brake lines run, the fuel lines run. Um, it is to the point where it looks dusty in this picture, but when you look at it in real life, the scuttle panel and this the radiator support panel were a point of contention because it was in being a best of category. It was a contention for best of show, and we got into an argument about whether or not this was plastic or painted. It was that well done. I'm
wow.
sitting there going like, guys, I physically own this model kit. It's white plastic. It's painted. And he's like, oh my goodness, that that's really something. I'm like, yeah. And then again, what got him dinged and why he didn't win best of show is because he's bare metal full of the entire scuttle panel, wipers and all. It's
Oh,
one piece of bare metal foil across
oh,
there.
I see.
If we had cut
I see.
cut this out and made it and done something else with it, put a
Or maybe put a wash around it, maybe?
something to differentiate it. It would have that would have
Yeah.
got him over that hump because this is the PE set, the model car garage PE set, and these numbers are separate. Like it's not one piece of PE. Each one of these fours or 442 is separate. He has the hood, the one on the hood, the one on the trunk, the whole PE shebang for this. So it was wildly
Maybe if
well
he would
done.
have sanded them off and put photo etch wipers on. What do you think?
Maybe something or just some way to have it not look like it's duct tape to the or
Yeah.
not duct tape but uh
Yeah.
the heavy duty,
Yeah.
the heavy duty HVAC tape.
Right.
This was built by one of the local guys. This is a wide body Charger. I just like the color this is painted in. It's I think it got a gold as well. I'm not sure where these wheels came from. I'm obviously 3D printed or 3D printed, but I think this is Iceman's wide body kit for that. I think.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in person.
Well,
I believe that's what
it's
this
black
is.
box
Flux STL.
STL.
Yeah. But I think that's what this is as far as that goes. And this is actually I don't know if I've never I haven't seen the 3D print in forever long, but this is one of these
No, those look like the stock wheels.
Maybe they are. But what I was going to say is that this is actually, whether this is in the print or whether he did this himself, it's got that cut line in the over fender. How many times I've seen an over fender where the door's over fendered shut? Like, how do you get that door open ever again? So that was nice. I appreciated that. And let me see where I'm at because I don't want to go off on a. Nope, that was the last one. So that was that. So just a selection, a couple. I didn't have time to take pictures. There was a lot of really well done stuff. I think we gave out somewhere around 15 golds in automotive total. So there's way more better, other stuff there. A couple of guys had, or one guy in particular had the Wicked resins. If you've seen those, the LMP race cars. They did the BMW and they did the Peugeot from the Le Mans series. He had those done very well done. He had an R35 Tamiya kit out of the box. Again, pretty close to perfect as you can get a box stock model. The automotive guys, I didn't enter anything, had 98 models on the table out of 323 total entries. So for an IPMS show, this was a car model show that happened to have some planes in the table behind it.
We are in the area of the country where
let's see. Go back over here to the commentary here where it's pretty quiet over there. Yeah. 2 kits allowable, factory stock, not in box stock. Factory stock, you do anything you want to. Factory stock, you better wire it and stuff like that. To be honest.
So let's walk into uncharted territory and talk about 2K clear finishes, and so we talk about realism. If you have a NASCAR that has 2K clear polished, or you decal it and then you bury it all in clear and then polish it to a high polish shine, I don't think that looks right, in my opinion.
I think
if you have,
it's one of those weird things where so many decals now react so poorly with lacquer clear that people are 2K'ing to sort of protect themselves from that, from screwing those $30 set of decals up, because all those cars are wrapped now. None of them are painted at all. So some of them are shiny vinyl and some of them are matte vinyl. And if you would go into realism, then you got to start going, race by race. What does this represent? And how was the car painted that race and stuff like that? I think that's some minutia that a judge isn't going to get into, because I don't think enough people, are going to pull up J-Ski's site to see how the car was painted at Daytona, per se.
Right. But should it look like a Riddler Award winner?
No, and I think that's the problem with 2K Clear in general. It's too shiny for almost everything it's used for.
Yes,
but
I agree.
Your alternatives are, what is it? LP9, I think, is the Tamiya clear coat, and the TS13 in a little bottle. You have the Mr. Hobby, UV cut stuff. Obviously, acrylic clears and stuff like that, but that gets dicey into clear. Actually buffing those out, because they tend to be soft, and they're not polishable per se. Because 2K clear is not a factory clear for any kind of 60s or 70s car. It's way too shiny for that.
Right.
Riddler cars, show cars, customs, that kind of stuff. It is. I don't know who brought this upon us, because I was perfectly fine with using 1K clear for my entire adult life, and then all of a sudden somebody said 2K clear, only acceptable clear coat there is. We're going to take this stuff that is basically lacquer thinner mixed with super glue and spray it all over the inside of your house and hope you don't die from it. And It's the only clear. Sorry guys, it's the only thing you can use. You use anything that, and it's now. I will say over the time that I've seen 2K clear in existence, the people have finally caught on to the fact that if you do not cut that whatsoever, it looks like it's been dipped in glazed donut glaze, and you end
Yes.
up with this puffy toy looking appearance. So people have caught on to the idea that that needs to be almost, because of how hard it is, machined, cut and
Yes.
polished out, and that'll give you certainly a much thinner, more realistic looking, overall finish. But it's probably too shiny
Yeah. I
for
totally
almost
agree with
everything you're
you on that.
using it on.
It has to be cut and buffed. It has to be. But I
Dale,
see
was it?
or
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I was at Dale Cloak was saying, if you do a cop car, how shiny should it be? Well, I mean, it should be the factory color. I mean, these days, a lot of the black and whites are all black cars that the white is a vinyl wrap added to the car, but it should be as shiny as the car is from the factory. It's,
Orange peel. That's what it should
I
be.
say, and that goes back till to horse and buggies. They're going to be as shiny as they were when they, I know we all think police cars are purpose built, but they're a big alternator and a heavy duty transmission cooler thrown on a regular car on the assembly line, and off it goes. It's not really that much difference between a regular Hemi Charger and a police Hemi Charger, other than the alternator and some holes being drilled into the various parts of the car.
To be sold in an aftermarket auction someday.
That's right. Someday, some 20-year-old kid's gonna pick it up for $6,000 and drive it into a telephone pole because I can go 140 miles an hour in this car. It's got no governor on it.
Kevin Smith, it's interesting. I heard a fella complain that I won best of show with airbrush stripes, but his were decals with bubbles in them. Yep. Yeah.
That's how that works.
And that's how that works. Right. I think you're probably talking about your Camaro, your 69 Camaro, silver with red garnet red painted stripes. That was nice. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. So our friends on the Japanese model car channels, some of them still use lacquer clear, like the Gaia Notes lacquer clears, and I think, in my opinion, they are getting a better finish with that paint than I'm getting with my 2K final finish.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you go back forever. Well, no, that we're using enamel clear coats back then, but lacquer clear coat was lacquer clear coat, and everybody used it. I mean, TS13 was sold by the gallon basically, and that was everyone's pretty much everyone's go-to clear coat for forever. And then to me, it had that. Well, I'll tell you exactly where that happened. To me, it had that situation where they had to relabel the spray paint cans to meet the new California, cancer and emissions blurbs that are on the cans of paint these days, and that they didn't pull the paint off the shelves, but that stopped the supply of it for a while. So, like any supply chain, it ran out the back end and it ran out the hobby shop front doors, and then suddenly there wasn't any more, and legitimately nobody knew when any more was coming because it was stuck in red tape for forever. And so we needed another clear coat. And the clear coat we decided on, for God knows what reason, was Automotive 2K Clear. Let's go. We're going to take this model, we're going to submerge it and deck seal it, and we're going to call it a day.
or get a foam brush and some floor polish.
Right? Future sort of came back around. Future was a thing that existed, and then it sort of made a second trip around the sun there when that clear coat disappeared. And then for whatever reason, when TS13 became available again, like 6 months later, we just sort of like, oh, cool, and we just nobody ever went back and got it.
Right.
I know that TS13 will, depending on what kind of decals you use as a race car guy, comes into effect. Like those will eat decals. It's too hot for a lot of decals, but because it's made for decals, you could beat it with a stick and drag it through the streets, a quarter mile, and it still ain't gonna lay down over anything.
Right.
So yeah, I totally understand using a clear coat that isn't going to eat your decals, because aftermarket decals, we both know, are expensive and very time intensive. And the last thing you want to do is spend 40 hours decal on something and go, and then there it goes, and it starts, crumbling up on itself, and
Right.
all that money and all that time is out the window. I had a guy who's on the one forum on Facebook for the Salvino's kits, said that he'd got this kit done and it was great, and he tried to put it together, and for some reason his rear axle wasn't aligned with his rear, fender well opening. They said, threw the whole kit away. I'm like, guys, like those bodies fit the same chassis, like the same from down underneath that body skin. Those kits are all the same. I don't care which one of you buy; they're all the same chassis. Like if there was something with that kit that was irreparable, where you couldn't fix the problem with the axle placement, get another one and build another chassis. Why would you scrap an entire, what you call best body I've ever done in my entire modeling career? Why would you throw that in the trash over axle spacing? Like, worst comes to worst, get another chassis and off you go. It's not like you build a $400 71 annual and there was no way to replace it, and you threw it away in a fit of disgust or something.
And then we had that guy that set his model on fire on YouTube.
Frank Modelworks says, I've had tarps with less strength than Tamiya decals. Okay, I should say Tamiya decals will crack very easily if you try to wrap them around stuff. They don't bend around stuff the way a regular decal would. That's why Tamiya created Tamiya extra strong decal setting solution, because they realize that their decals aren't flexible. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Frank. They will break. They will break for sure. That they don't lay down was my point. They don't adapt to curves.
Right.
And then they were just trash in the 90s in the first place.
So did I answer the question? Did we answer the question about 3D printed model cars? Where do they belong at a show?
No, I don't think we really touched on that very much. It was just sort of like, I knew it was something you want to talk about because I made a whole shtick for it here. Like fancy professionalism.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that there should be a separate category for 3D printed kits. Not I 3D printed an engine to go in my plastic kit, but entirely 3D printed kits. I think there should be a separate category for it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I think it requires a lot of knowledge or honesty, depending, that maybe doesn't necessarily propagate a model contest, regardless of what organization might be running it. Because you get into a lot of things like, you get a 3D kit and it's, a lot of sci-fi stuff. It's in 5 pieces. Like, did you build that or not? I mean, a lot of that's presentation. That's like a curbside, kit of what's it look like when it's done, because there wasn't much construction involved in that.
Right.
And it is something that the IPMS is currently on the national level is, in a strife about, because certainly the old guard sees it as cheating because it's not scratch building. You didn't take sheet styrene and make this thing. And I understand that point of view. It's certainly, but it's also a different set of skills, especially if you're the one designing the files, right? If you understand CAD well enough to draw stuff, to make the things, that is a skill set within itself. It's not maybe as dexterous with your hands as scratch building is in the traditional definition, but it's certainly a skill set to have. Gluing something you bought on isn't a skill set any more than gluing PE or resin together is, and aftermarket's aftermarket.
Like anybody that finishes one of those too many projects, I can't remember the guy's name.
That is, well, yeah, what his name is.
Burns.
Yeah, Robert Burns.
If they finish one of his cars, that is a feat, because you're getting body, hood, bumpers, and glass. Not even glass. Excuse me. So you're scratch building a chassis to fit. You're scratch building an interior. The whole 9 yards. I think that deserves more than somebody who took a kit and glued it together and painted it.
Yeah. The IPMS discussion is like, how much 3D printing in a project would constitute something that goes in a 3D printed category versus not. And
Okay.
you did see recently. Well, I think it was last year, maybe, but I know it is for sure this year because I've already looked at this year's rule changes, prepping for judging this summer. Is that in the what they call basic kit build, which is the old out of box category, they have banned the 3D decals, the ones we were talking about the
Right.
last time.
We were talking about that.
Like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they've banned those. You cannot add those to a kit because it adds a level of detail that doesn't exist in a basic kit build. You wouldn't be, or out of box, you wouldn't be allowed to scratch build that either. It would just be out of box. So I certainly see where that comes into play. And a lot of the drama, at least within the IPMS, is like, well, if you bought a rocket, a literal like NASA rocket, well, it's going to print out in like chunks, and you put the chunks together like a giant stack of soup cans. And how much building did you do with that? And if you're building a 3D base in a 3D figure, and the figure is the base, the torso, and the head, and maybe arms, and it's still how much building is that really a model at that point? Like, until it prints out of the printer painted, it's still a model.
And polished, right?
It comes out of that 3D printer done like a die cast it would, then it's still something you may not have had to build it in the traditional sense, but you still had to make a model out of it. You still had to apply your skills and your techniques. And if anybody's ever gone into like the figure painting corner of an IPMS contest, there's people back there making resin things look like real stuff. That's a skill set I probably under no circumstances will ever possess in my adult lifetime. That's where that dance line is, where models become art, and that's that corner of the world. You still got to finish it. You still got to make it look like what it looks like, no matter what medium you use to begin. And most of those figures are 3D cast anyway, so you still only got 3-4 parts. Who cares if you sucked it out with a vacuum or you printed it off a printer? What difference does it make where the resin came from? It's still only so many things.
Right. But going back to, from what I can remember, going to contests, judge contests, where it was turned aluminum, machined aluminum, photo etched monsters, always won best of show. I replaced everything that I possibly could with a turned aluminum piece, or I lathed everything that I could, and scratch built the whole thing out of solder and lead, and I think the guy's name was like Augie Ascano.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Where there wasn't, a single kit piece there, that was a scratch built model car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, say Mark Jones is the same thing with the Super 7s, where he started out with a piece of something, and that was the inspiration for the whole build, and everything else is scratch build.
Right. He started with a kit, but he replaced every single piece with a turned aluminum something or other. Right. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to compete, and that's why I don't do it.
Dean Lewis here saying, would something like the Spectre Land Rover conversion be considered a kit and get its own category? I'd say no, considering it's more of a customizing a normal kit. I would agree with you, Dean, because that, in that sense, is a trans kit at that point. You are still using a big chunk. Yeah, you're still using a big chunk of that Revell Land Rover to build that, or Range Rover to build that Land Rover. Yeah, Land Rover.
Yeah. That's an intense model car kit.
Yeah, it is, especially with no instructions.
Right.
Here's a box of parts. Godspeed. I love Chris to death. He's a great guy, but man, I wish he'd throw some instructions in his stuff. People are gonna think I'm paying Frank to put comments on here, but Frank here, the old guard, sees everything they can't do is cheating. Yeah, that tends to be how that works. I was talking to you. This is sort of semi-related, but I was talking to you the other day about saying I was trying to swing that deal for that Audi R6, the Alpha kit. And so the gentleman I've been talking to is up in Canada and was making the comment that he's been building models for about 2 years now, and has gotten his skill set to the point where people are having him do commission builds, which is like a whole nother kettle of fish for another episode. and which is great. I mean, if your skills are to the point where people are willing to pay you to
Wow,
do
in
stuff,
2
I mean,
years?
it's
Wow,
well,
in
you know
2
what?
years, that's a leap.
That's another episode. That's another episode too. Like the proliferation of social media and especially YouTube and things like that, where things that were one dimensional in a magazine are now 3-dimensional on your screen, and there's just so much of it out there. Even the bad stuff, you learn stuff even from the bad videos that are out there, that people coming into the hobby are, the old guard would say, an unfair advantage, because you didn't have to suffer through learning, because it's
You
just
didn't
all that
have to learn
information's
how to
there,
do things, right.
right. I mean, you still have to apply the knowledge, but it's not like it was. But yeah, so anyway, he's building his alpha kits and has gotten a lot of negative feedback from, I don't know how much community we're talking about in Quebec itself, of people saying like the alpha kits cost too much, and it's not real modeling because it doesn't have an engine and all that tripe that you hear all the time. And he just said, like, I don't understand why people are being so negative about stuff. I was because old guys are negative about everything. And then I know it is a broad brush generalization. Please don't kill me, but that is certainly a certain section of the hobby. And I told him, I said gatekeeping, and he's like, didn't understand the term French, Quebec French speaking, right? So I said, well, gatekeeping is when people stand at the door and they tell you can't come in unless you build it this way, you paint it this way, you have this many builds before you try some skill. There, you build what we tell
Sure.
you, how we tell you, and that's a lot of the the things I constantly make fun of. With if it's not a gas or a hot rod, don't care, and I know not every single person is, even who is somebody who started building back in the 60s. I don't call old people because they're not really that old at this point still. But, there certainly is in the hobby that contingent of people who will tell
Right.
you, I suffered through this NPC kit and so will you. Otherwise, you're not a real builder because you didn't do it the way we did it. And
Oh,
it's like, yeah, I know.
yeah.
But there's a lot of things we could look back in history and go, we didn't do, and now we do, and do we really want to go back to that? It's like,
Right.
not every, there's a certain, I think that's a generational thing. That's that whole, the millennials are the laziest people on earth. Now they've got their YouTubes and they learn how to build models without having to sand 9 miles of flash off of a dragster frame. And back in my day, models were $1, and it's like, yeah, back in my day, the models were $4. Now they're 30. I don't know if it's a circular argument. It gets so frustrating to do all the time. I just told him, I said, man, you just hang out with the people that support you and are with what you want to do, and the rest will either follow along or leave them behind. There's just no, you're never going to make everybody happy, because being new to the hobby, that's one of those things, like positivity, and everybody's gonna love what I do. No, not everybody is gonna love what you do, and they're gonna have the dumbest reasons possible for not liking what you do. It's not the AMT Fiat double dragster kit. Why would you build that?
Right.
There's a whole discussion on Model Cars Magazine right now about Atlantis and the next kit they're going to bring out, and the general consensus is the box art is awful. Well, guys, the parts packs
Who
were designed in
cares?
1962. Like, what the contents are. Who gives a crap what it's wrapped in at this point? Like, do you want the parts back or not? Question answer. Yes, no, no. Okay. Sorry, we're not making it. The box art was too bad. People were very upset with the 57 Cadillac. If you didn't know that 57 Cadillac was a multi-piece body, and the fact it's been around for almost 70 years now, I don't know what to tell you about that. You could have done some research about that. It's, well,
Yeah,
this
they
kit
just
doesn't
go to
this
Hobby
that
Lobby and
like,
see it on the shelf. Oh,
make
Cadillac,
it
I've never
stop.
seen this model kit. Oh, let me grab it. Oh, look at this multi-piece body. But it does take quite a bit of talent to build something like that and make it look good.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's always been my thing. Like, the kit's old. No, you're going to fight with it, and you can make something absolutely gorgeous out of it. I don't want to spend the time doing it, but that doesn't mean I don't think you should spend the time doing it, or anybody should spend the time doing it. It's not what I'm going to do. And when you get it done and it's awesome, I'm going to congratulate you for how awesome you made what I know is a piece of dog crap into a really nice model kit.
Yeah.
And I don't, I know why, because people were just goofy retards, but like, everybody should just have that. I don't understand what the point of being negative in that way. Like, negative in general, I'm a negative person, right? But like, I don't like your model kit. Okay.
All
I
right.
don't know. Oh well, this is a hobby. I don't like your golf swing. I guess your bowling sucks. Again, it's the online stuff, right? You never say the stuff to someone's face that you say to them online.
Right. Kind of like that guy that commented on my video when I said that I was going to build 15 more Good Smile cars, and he said, "I sure hope you don't build 15 more of those. I don't like foreign cars." Well, you don't have to watch my channel.
Yeah, we discussed
Sorry
that
to
before, but
disappoint you, buddy.
we discussed that before in judging, where it's like I don't like the color of those wheels. Well, that's not part of the contest requirement of painting it the way you liked it. Are they on strike? Okay, they're good enough. Let's see here. There was something. I'm going through the classes here. The whole discussion with Augie Hiscano in the comment section there as to what an artist he was, which he totally was.
Yeah.
And the fact that majority of his models are at the National Model Car Museum now. Be interesting to see what Gustafson actually does with that, because I think he wants to move it to. He's trying to move it to like permanent exhibits at real car museums, because I don't, he really is getting up there at this point, and he's got to do something with that before it's too late. Frank's Model Works again. Sorry, Frank, but people didn't want to suffer like you did, because man, okay, we should know that you didn't make it out. That's right. We're just gonna be like, yeah, everything is World War II, right? Everything is just the way. Kevin Smith here is asking you, who is it about the Duesenberg with a stainless roof?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Wasn't my thing, so I probably didn't even pay attention to it.
Dean down here again without giving up on the 57 custom chop roof Ranchero kit, the most challenging thing ever built. I've seen the inside of that one time when it came out in the Hot Rod series. I took one look at that and went, pass. So that was, yeah, that's a special kit in terms of the.
I
Because
remember my friend.
I believe the doors open on that, and they're chopped doors. So it's like really, it's that era of Revell where let's open everything because that'll work.
My friend Steve built that Skyliner that had the retractable hardtop, and he did it all in wire so that it actually articulated and closed. That was like, wow, that is cool. But I couldn't imagine trying to build that today. I mean, no.
That is what we call a labor of love, James. That is why you build something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. This is another one of James's topics here. We'll throw this up on the ticker. Well, it's so fancy. White glue and you pre-building a model car. You wanted to talk more about your white glue review experiences.
So
you said in the text message you sent me.
Yeah. So I've been doing white glue reviews on my channel for a little while now. I think I've done 4 on the new 71 Mustang, the 71 Demon, the 68 Cornet, and now the a la carte. And I get a lot of feedback about, what's the point? Why are you even bothering with that? Just glue it and put it together, and or why'd you waste my time? You didn't paint it. All you did was just put it together. I really thought that by doing those white glue reviews that I was actually giving some content beyond an open box review. And that's really the reason that I do those white glue reviews. Is it's just one step beyond. Here's opening the box, here's the trees, here's what it is, and look out for this fit problem, because that's what I found when I tried to put it together with white glue. What's your thoughts on that?
I have certainly appreciate, the out of the box review within the concept of like, ooh, let me see the parts. But that tends to not obviously tell you what's wrong with the model kit. And I know this in the white glue review has unleashed the critic within James Tester to a certain extent, which is something I appreciate, because it's something that I know in the early years of talking to you was always like, yeah, you built it. What'd you think about it? Like, what, I have this model kit. Like, what do I want to look out for? Again, surround myself with people that are better builders than I am, and I want to glean from their knowledge. So when I build this, what's wrong with it? Well, I don't want to bash your model kit, James. Yeah, I understand that. I didn't ask you to set it on fire in the middle of the street. I just asked you what were the problems with it. And so with this, it's allowed you to, and I've noticed, which I appreciate, I don't know if anybody else cares, the fact that you were, being a little more liberal with your, these are things that I didn't like. I didn't like this. This didn't fit. This is something to look out for. A lot of that, the way that a la carte fit together. You needed a chisel and a sledgehammer to get the body and interior to the chassis, or you're going to spend a lot of time grinding it away on one or more directions to get it all fit.
Right.
That, like you pointed out in the video, that is invaluable information to have prior to trying to build that model, because holy Christ, if you got to build the final assembly and it's painted and now it doesn't go together.
Right.
You poured dozens of hours and your best white pearl paint job you ever had into this project, and now what? You're gonna grind a whole bunch of stuff, ruin your paint job, and have to repaint the whole thing more than likely, or pitch it all together, because if you 2K'd it, the bane of 2K, you can't strip it off. You get into that situation.
Back in the old days, we would mix up 2-part epoxy and get a set of clamps, hold the whole chassis together, slather both sides with 2-part epoxy, put it together and clamp it, and then leave it overnight to hold it all together and hope that it would still be on all fours.
Right.
That's the way we used to do it.
I have done that myself. I have clamps over here on the shelf of you got the sliding sleeve clamps, you got the ones that you can screw down to make sure that thing stays together. And it's because how do you get this to stay together? Yeah, well, you mix up some 5-minute epoxy. It ain't going together any other way. So here's the way we do it.
Or drill holes and insert wire, to hold it, and then super glue the wire into each piece, to hold it all together.
And I'm critiquing the wider YouTube world in general here, that so many people build their builds, and either like the famous YouTuber du jour that everybody knows, and I'm not going to actually name, that gets all of the models to build up front.
Yes.
A little bit of critique here and there, but everything is like it's the most marvelous thing ever designed. It's the most marvelous ever detail you've ever seen, and the kit went together fine. Here's an hour's worth of video about how great it is, and me salivating over everything about it and put it together. And he and I have made our rounds, and I'm not going to drag up our history together. But the one thing I said to him is, like, you say that you've built 140 models this year, which is what his claim to me was, and I don't doubt it. As many models as he built, and I said, you can't tell me, because you're building models that I have built in the past as a kid. These model cars are coming around a second or third time now. They fit. I know they don't. I built that kit. I know it doesn't. And I think so many people rely on him, who as sort of like this entry level gateway into the hobby, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great thing that he's doing, making those videos for that community. But it's also at the same time sort of setting this giant tripwire out for them, because, well, I mean, he didn't have a problem with it. It went together fine for him, but this is beating my ass, and I can't get this model kit to go together. It must be my problem. And it's like, no, it's the kit's problem. And it was, as I just said 5 minutes ago, you can make any model kit great, but that may not have been the best choice for you 2 months into your experience, and it's the third model kit you've ever built. But the guy on YouTube said, yeah, this is fantastic. It's slathered in detail, and it's magnificently great. And I had no issues with it. I said, you're doing a disservice to people by not being honest with those. I understand you're being supplied with the model kits, and it's a line to dance on when you're getting free swag to build, as how honest you want to build. I mean, people have been thrown out of the reviewer corps at Scale Auto before it came out because they were too honest about the reviews and things of that nature. But if you paid for it, and I know he doesn't, but if you paid for it, I'd be able to say whatever I want to about it. And I'm not going to slag on it on purpose just to be, every AMT kit's awful. I'd be like, oh, no, this is what the problems were. This, I haven't done, still, I don't think I've done the review for that one BMW I built. But I'll tell everybody that I talked to about it. Well, I guess one of the things I keep meaning to do, but now it's so far gone. Who cares at this point? but it's like the steering rod on that car is too wide. And if you put it together out of the box without white gluing it together, you don't know that until you're done. And now your wheels are permanently towed out like this. And I thought it was something I did because I used 3D version replacement wheels. And then I saw somebody build one out of the box and it's also skewed out like this. So it is a situation where that steering arm was wrong. And I've seen 7 reviews of that model kit built from all across the world, and not a single person has ever said, when you get done with this, your wheels won't be straight because that steering rod is too long. Or yeah, I guess it's a steering rod, right? It's a part that clips onto the uprights that makes your wheels steer on a Japanese. So everybody understands what I'm trying to say there. But like, why doesn't anyone mention that? Well, I don't want to make the manufacturer upset. Well, the manufacturer maybe doesn't know because they built test shots that this is too wide. I know that they fixed the upright height on the new version that they put out. I don't know if the steering rod is any shorter. Maybe the upright height, the things are tilted in a different way and everything will line up now. But if you're going to build a model kit and you have a problem with it, say you had a problem with it. And preferably, if you're making the video, include why this is a problem. Like, don't just say, well, I was building this and the seats don't fit. Anyway, say it didn't fit. Anyway, onto the painting. And it's like, what do you mean it didn't fit? How didn't it fit? Why didn't it fit? Where didn't it fit?
What can you do to fix it?
Right. And then it's always like, and here's my interior, and obviously everything is fit. I'm like, well, what did you do to fix it? I'm not a retard. Sorry, I keep using that word. I know that's a bad word to use, but I'm like, I'm not stupid. I can figure out how to fix it, but I need to know where, we'll build it yourself. Oh God, here we are gatekeeping the hobby again. And it's like, just tell me. We're all in, I tell people at work all the time, we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to row it in the same direction. I don't understand why we're being secretive about,
Right.
Oh, the video's too long. That's a key piece of the video to tell me why the wheels didn't fit or why the engine doesn't fit or whatever the case may be.
I think we as YouTubers want to seem like we're perfect. So like when we're building a model kit, we'll gloss over the fact that something didn't fit right and we had to go, turn off the camera and fix it, and then ta-da, look, it's on the chassis. I didn't show you that I had to fight with it for a half an hour to get it, crunch it all together. So I probably should be more truthful when I'm doing my builds to show all of the pain sometimes that I have to go through and to alter things to make them fit, because it only really does the community justice to do it that way.
And and I understand people's general idea of like, well, I don't want to bash a model kit. It's honesty. It's just honesty. Right. It didn't fit. The steering axle on, I don't actually have one here close to me, or else it showed on camera. The steering axle on that thing is too wide and it will make your wheels toe out. If you don't cut that thing in, if you don't cut that thing in half and reassemble it. No, that's the Hasegawa one. We're talking about it's an earlier boxing of this, so it's not this kit in particular, but this one. This new the 2001 BMW, the one that I built that has that you've seen before. The steering, like I said, the steering axle on this thing is too wide and the wheels toe out. Now on the new one, which is what this is the newest version of it. It's the Macau winner. If I could find it without making so much rattling noise that everyone turns the video off.
Rattle. My ears.
Yeah, exactly. There is in the middle here, right here. This part right here. This is a separate little teeny weeny parts runner with these uprights on it right here. This is one little rectangle of plastic that's in there, and those are redesigned front uprights. And they are on a different angle than the original ones are. So I don't know, because I haven't put this together, obviously. rattle, crinkle. That I don't know if that fixes the problem. If that redesign of the geometry of the suspension moves the attachment points for the steering rod out far enough so that it isn't going in every which way now, or if that just lowers the ride height to the front, because obviously they're shorter than they were, so the ride height will be lower. I didn't have a problem with the ride height of the original kit, so I'm hoping that means that it's just taking the attachment out that extra probably 2/10 of a millimeter, 3/10 of a millimeter that it is. Because if you've ever seen me put that thing down on a contest, you know I take the wheels and I turn them sideways because they don't turn equally either because it's too wide. So they're both this way. So all you can do is put one in real hard and it kind of sort of matches the other side. Or this
turn
way,
in a
whichever
corner.
way you want to go. Yeah, to
Right, turn in
a
a
corner. Every single time anybody ever sees that model car pictured, it's always got the wheels turned because otherwise the wheels will be doing this job. And now my wheels are out of alignment and I ain't getting no medal for that.
Tim Custom had joined us tonight. Thank you, Tim. I
Nunu is
commented
fun to
on
say.
one of his videos that I want to meet that guy someday.
Nunu is a fun word to say, and if you realize that BMAX and Nunu are the same company, then you call it Bima Nunu. Because for separate tangent, I apologize, but there's a whole bunch of people that BMAX. Here's history lesson. Everybody gather around. History lesson. BMAX is a company in Macau that makes race cars. They signed a technical agreement with Aoshima to help them. If you ever look at a Nunu kit and an Aoshima kit, the instructions are almost identical as far as how they're laid out, the style of technical drawing that they use, and all that sort of stuff. The paint guides, everything. It all looks the same. And what Aoshima got out of that was the 1/20th scale McLaren MP44. They wanted to make an F1 car, but Mr. Aoshima's son was like, I ain't spending my money on that crap. So they assigned this symbiotic relationship where Aoshima would distribute BMAX's kits in exchange for this knowledge of how to make model kits, more or less. And we would get this 1/20 scale F1 car out of it. And that F1 car eventually came to existence, but Aoshima-san really didn't like the whole idea of this agreement that if people had made in his company sort of underneath of him, and the distribution of BMAX kits were taking somewhere in the neighborhood about 5 months longer than the actual kits were released. Like there was this huge half-year-long lag time between when BMAX was putting these kits out on the street in Hong Kong and China and even the rest of the world, and when Japan would get them because it wasn't a priority. They're not our model kits. And Bell kits out of Belgium, the rally car guys, same deal. They signed a distribution deal with Aoshima to be their importer, and Aoshima's like, we'll get around to it when we get around to it. It's not our model kits. We have priorities. We build, we have our own model company here. We're not, an importer. We're a manufacturer. So your stuff comes and gets distributed when we have time. And so the gentleman who owns BMAX created another company, Nunu. It was BMAX was already a new company, so this is the new company. And the other thing was Aoshima didn't want any parts of the GT3 kits, which they've sold boatloads of, so that was a stupid decision part two. But at any rate, the gentleman who owns BMAX wanted to make GT3 cars. Aoshima didn't want any part of it. They fought. Nunu was created, and then if you've noticed, if you really know your kit history of BMAX and Nunu, certain BMAX kits have been reissued under the Nunu label, and then all of a sudden here in the last like 6 to 8 months, they started being reissued again under the BMAX label because that technical agreement finally expired, and the gentleman that owns the company got his name back. So now he can distribute the kits however he wants to, and BMAX's name is back. But since it's all one company, it's Bima Nunu.
So is Bell Kits any part of, are they their own company, or did they start off with Aoshima?
No, they're their own company. That kit is from 2011 or 2012, I think. So that predates the Chevy Cruze that BMAX did by like at least 2-3 years. So they're their own deal. They're in Belgium. They're much like D model kits. The guys that made the Sierra is we're making model kits, but we own D model kit store. Domino Hobbies, if you've ever heard of them before, they're one of the largest European importers. They own Bell Kits. We made all this money selling kits, so now we're going to start making kits, and which is why Bell Kits puts out like one kit every 18 months or so, because they're not a big company. They're just, whenever Domino has the money, they press go on the next kit, and rally car aficionados are either very excited or crying in the streets because we're going to pay $63 for a model kit, and that's bullshit, even though it comes with PE and all stuff in it already. So,
and the body is in a separate box.
The body in the box is an awesome feature.
Yeah. when I bought that one off eBay, somebody was giving it away basically, and it was the first time I'd ever looked inside of the box, and that's quite a kit. That's why it's sitting on the wall of fame here and never to be built.
The early kits were rough a little bit. The new stuff, the stuff they've made in the last 5 years or so, they've kicked up their production. They finally figured out that their decals, wherever they were getting them made, stink, and they contract with Cartograph to make the decals. That came to a head
Okay.
over a Volkswagen kit because the decals in the kit were unusable. Like you put them in the water and they just exploded, and it was a brand new kit. Like there's no excuse for that. It's not like it's been sitting around for 20 years and I tried to stick it in the window for a month to get the yellowing off of them. They were bad out of the box, and they were like, we're charging people $63 for a model kit. We really should provide them with a set of decals that they can use.
Some cartographs, yeah,
And,
for
and
sure.
since then, they obviously the Cartograph can print anything, and they've started including carbon fiber decals with their kits. And like I said, there's seatbelt in there. There's PE in there. So $62. Is it a lot of money for one model kit? Yes, but if you were to buy a separate detail upset, you're going to spend
Separate,
another
right,
$25-$30 anyway. So you're at $60 in the first place.
right. If you buy a new and the detail upset, you're close to $70 anyways. So
Very amusing. I don't have the thing here. I was talking to Lau about it. Was the fact that uh, Platts, specifically in Japan only, you can't buy it anywhere else, has taken several of the recent new or BMAX kits, depending, and reissued them via Platts distribution with the PE included in it. But the price tag ends up being $7 more than if you bought them in separate pieces.
but at least you
And I
can
said,
find it.
I can only assume the Japanese market is okay with that under the basis of, well, it's all in one box, so at least I have it. Because I don't know, because obviously you're not making as many FE sets as you did model kits because you never sell them all, and
Right.
you'd be stuck with them forever. So you only make half as many, quarter as many, and you hope that's enough. And well, at least the PE's in there. And the most recent thing they started doing is repackaging the most recent, the Volvo, the BMWs, with the resin grills that I was showing in the last stash video from Fat Frog Models. And Lau's like, isn't that kind of saying that your own girls suck when you put somebody else's girl into your kit? I said, well, I mean, Daniel over at Hobby Easy gets to sell boatloads of resin grills that, I mean, I'm not saying that he has a bunch, obviously 3D printed, so it's on demand, but
Right.
I'm sure he's making something out of that, especially
Right.
since he's not getting that kit to sell as combo. It's only being sold in Japan that way. But yeah, the 2 or 3 kits in the last 2 weeks have come up with like May reissues for the Volvo, the new BMW, and one of the older BMWs with having they're just calling it Hobby Easy produced. I'm like, that company has a name. It's Fat Frog Models. But I'm sure he doesn't really care. He got his money. We'll call it whatever you want to at that point. But it's it's interesting to see what the Japanese, because that, like I said, those are JDM only. The only way you get the Hobby, Hobby Search, Hobby Link Japan, or maybe it'll show up on eBay like Tokyo Hobby or whatever. But
Right.
otherwise you're not going to get those combo kits. For a while, they were, before new finally got their act together and put in masking sheets for the windows. That was a thing they were doing, where it was like, hey, buy the kit and get window mask. Ooh. It's like,
Ooh.
they were cheaper than buying the separate window mask from like Zoom On or Hero Boy or whoever. So I mean, it worked out. I bought a couple of those specifically just to get the window mask, so I could copy the,
Ooh.
photocopy them and cut
Ooh.
out
The window masks from, I think it's Zoom On. Are those the ones that stick to the window and don't come off or leave a residue?
the ones from Hero Boy are the ones that stick to the window and don't,
Oh,
at least in my generalized
okay.
experience.
I,
I've
I
used
think I
Zoom
had
On, but I
one.
haven't had I used the Zoom On ones when I built that BMW, and I left them on. I painted the trim. I drove to Nebraska because I took it with me to nationals that year, and the thought of maybe I'll finish it in time, and in the hotel, because hey, everything off gas is on a model kit, on a model table. And yeah, I mean, I got all the way there. There was a 15-hour drive over the course of 2 days, and then I took the masks off, and they came right off, no residue, and they didn't take the paint with it either, which was
Okay.
good. So they make a lot of masks for a lot of the old Tamiya stuff. Or not old Tamiya stuff,
Okay.
but the 80s, 90s Tamiya stuff, like the Supras and the Celicas and all those kits that never came with window masks. It's a $3 source to get them. I know I sent BG Brian after a set for his Supra, who was like, I wish there was a set of window masks for this. I'm like, oh, but there is.
But there is.
Yeah.
And those are a pain in the butt if you don't have them to draw it, take it off. And one time I actually cut on the window with a knife, and it was in the wrong line. So
I,
never
I
again.
understand it is a certain like you're just being lazy. You could just make tape templates. I could, and I am, and I would. It. I don't know if it is me personally. I'm sure the people who are watching out there can associate. There's just sometimes where it's easier to buy the pre-made product than it is to screw around with it. I would. So much you could scratch build that. I could, but if I could buy one that was already made, it would be just so much nicer. I would pay Misha and those guys over at USCP whatever they're asking for a body for the DBS5 that doesn't have that ejector roof hole in it already.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care what they ask for. Just give it to me.
Tim Custom is shaking his head at us right now.
Man, I love guys who can do that stuff. I really do. I appreciate the that is to a certain extent artistry as well. That goes into scratch building, that sort of stuff. That is not. No, I got 2 kids, 3 animals, a full-time job. I ain't got time for that.
Eric Ritz is in our club, and he looks at a kit. He opens up the box and says, "You know what? Maybe I'll cut this off and grab this kit and cut that off and glue it all together and boom, and best of show." And that's what he does. That's what he does.
I've witnessed said results on a number of occasions.
Right. And me, I don't have that imagination or creativity or skills or whatever. I just like box stock. That's what I like.
I think everybody should, and it should embrace the things that they enjoy the most. I glancing at the last comment there. I'm not here to sell you into, make into doing something you don't want to do. This is what I like to do, and I like what you do. I have an entire selection of hot rods and stuff over here to build. So it's not like I don't own that stuff. I just, where my current interest lies are where my current interest lies. They, if you would have came to me 10 years ago, I didn't own any of this race car stuff. It didn't exist in the first place, but it's just.
Sorry, I was reading. Sorry. So sorry to put you on the spot. Did you do new kits coming out research, James? Did you freeze on me? I think you frozen. Somebody must have closed the Wi-Fi at your spot because your screen is frozen. We'll read some comments. Blah blah blah. Rather tell things honestly, like the AMT-40 Willys has a very bad, but it can be fixed. You're absolutely right. And I think I'd be doing a disservice to the YouTube community in general if I just slammed it together and said, yeah, this is the best kit ever. Dale says good night. William agrees. The AMT Willys pickup. Pre-gluing my AMT Surfer van reviewed some slight warpage in the chassis. That's pretty common. That's pretty common. Um, if you can straighten that out, Dean. Just heat it up with some very gingerly heat it up with a some hot water or even a heat gun, but don't stick around too long. Kevin's making fun of Tim's last name, blah blah blah. Um, William says he's not into Japanese kits. Yeah, that's cool. It's here nor there. Good night from the chat. Maybe not. Oh man. So James must be having some awful problems technically. So I'm gonna draw this at an hour and 36 minutes. I think it was a good chat. Um, I appreciate all of you for coming online to watch us joining in with the conversation. It's always a great time. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Good night, everyone.